Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I think you can guess what we're going to be painting today. This is a package of store-bought pears, and this one has beautiful color on it, but you can see that they're still cold, so they're beginning to condense a little bit, and so there's a shiny sheen on the surface to them. These pears are very different from the pears from my pear tree. So here's that one that I showed you last time. So quite a difference in the way they look. Now this pear, of course, has been sitting on my surface here for the past week or so, so it's starting to get a little bit mushy. But still, look at all the spots and the splotches on the natural pear, and look how perfect. Well, this one has a little bit of a something on it, but most of these don't have a blemish on them, which is nice, but they tend to look a little more artificial. They look a little bit like waxed fruits that you would use to decorate your table with. So I would advise you, if at all possible, to go to your local orchard and see if you can get some pears that have some of that sort of natural characteristic to it. But you know, whatever you like. That's just me. I like things all natural as much as possible. I am a nature lover. So anyway, I'm going to move these out of the way for just a second so I can show you my garden sketchbook here. And you may remember some time back when I made this. So this is my watercolor journal, and to make it I painted these kind of loose peonies, or actually I don't even remember if they're peonies. I see the leaf. Okay, so these big beautiful peonies, there's some gold ink on there. I did some stitching around the edges with the metallic thread, and I added some heat embossing to the spine, also to the flap here. So this is some linen material that I had, and I just added some heat embossing with a stamp to get that pretty design. And what I want to do today is I want to create another sort of loose watercolor wash impression of the pears, because I want to make a autumn journal. I love this time of year. I love the colors, and I've got lots of really nice things that I've collected to decorate the inside with, but I need something for the cover. So that's what we're going to work on today. I'm going to do a very loose, very fluid, wet and wet design of pears for the cover of my next journal. I may as well get my brushes out while I'm here. Okay, so I have my watercolors ready to go, red, yellow, and blue. And I've got some water off to the side. I have a damp kitchen sponge to just blot my brush on to adjust the amount of water. And I've got a piece of plexiglass, and on it I have a sheet of watercolor paper. And this, I actually don't even know what kind of watercolor paper this is. It's just something that was sort of kicking around the studio, and I thought I may as well use it up. I can tell you it's about 140-pound paper, and it's got a little bit of a surface texture, not a lot. Okay, so let's get this into the camera. There we go. And I'm just going to leave these things. Well, let me make sure my volume is turned all the way up. There we go. I'm just going to leave these pears sort of haphazardly arranged on my surface here because I'm not going to be following them exactly. I'm just going to do something very loose, wet, and impressionistic. I do want to get these stems. I love the quirky little pear stems. I think they're really fun. I also like to get the bottom of the pear for more interest. Okay, you can see all these wonderful puckers here. That'll be a lot of fun to paint. And I want to make sure I get this beautiful red one because that color is kind of a almost like a scarlet red. Okay, I think we're just about ready to start. I'm going to go ahead, give my paper a little bit of a spritz, and actually maybe I'll use my water painters to begin with today. So let me find the big one. It looks pretty big, and I also have the square one, and so that looks like that. So there's my square tip water painter. Oh, this is the little one. Let's get the other one out. You get 3 water painters to a pack. There we go. That's the one I want. And I find them to be very handy if I want to do something quick and easy and I don't want to get up and get some water, because the water is in the handle, which means that they're very nice to take out of doors if you're someone who likes to go outside and paint. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I'm just mixing up what's basically on my palette here. I'm not too worried about color right now. I just want to create some kind of a design. Now remember, this is going to be used for a journal cover, so the center portion is going to be the spine, and I imagine it would be maybe 1 inch wide, and then this of course will be the front of the journal, and this will be the back. And I'll probably be adding other things to the journal to decorate it. So there will be stitching and maybe some stamping, some heat embossing. I'll probably spatter some ink. So I'm just going to do a very sketchy kind of collection of pears. I'm using the square brush, and you'll find that when you use a brush like this is usually called a bright, B-R-I-G-H-T brush. What you can do is you can sort of twist it in your hand so that you can get a different shaped mark. So if I do something down the center here, so for instance I could start flat, turn, get a narrow, and then turn again. See that? So just by twisting the brush in my hand, I can get a different shaped line or mark with it. And maybe for the sake of time, I'll just do one side for now, and then I'll do the other side of the painting off camera, but I'll just show you how to get started. And in just a second I will measure this paper and let you know exactly what the dimensions are of it. But I would recommend using any kind of watercolor paper that you happen to have to hand. It does not have to be the fanciest paper. This is going to be a journal cover, so it's going to get bashed up from taking it around with me if I decide to take it outside. And I actually don't even know what kind of paper I'm going to be binding inside of it. It could be a watercolor paper sketchbook, or it could be a writing journal, or it could be a mix of all different kinds of paper. It could be a kind of an art junk journal, and just use up all my scraps. If any of you are out there, find that you've got a lot of things piling up in your stash, things that you really love that you haven't had a chance to use yet, this is an absolutely perfect way to do a little scrap busting in your craft room or your studios, because when you make a journal, pretty much the sky is the limit. Okay, so you can use all your specialty papers, your metallics, your inks, all your different mediums. Sorry everybody, I'm back. I had a feline emergency. Everything's fine. Okay. Now I do want to have some background in behind my pears, so for that I'm going to mix up a little bit of red and blue, keeping it sort of on the bluer side. I think you can see that a little bit in the corner here, so I'm just going to add that. And the paper is damp enough that I'm not getting any hard edges, but because I didn't over wet the paper, I am able to hold a line fairly well. And so you just want to figure out how much water to add to get the effect that you're looking for. This is working nicely for what I have in mind here. Okay. Just fill in this area here. Okay, so that is the sort of overall pattern. Now what I can do is increase the color and do a little more detail on the pears. So for that I'm going to get a kind of a yellow greenish mixture, because these pears do have a lot of green in them. I can just start to splash that around a little bit. And I'm trying to keep a nice balance of color over the surface. Now I'm going to go into those beautiful kind of scarlet tones with my red and my yellow. It's getting plenty of red. Warm that up a little bit. Are there any other journal makers out there? Let me know if you like to make journals, and what are you working on? Do you have one in the works right now? Anybody interested in a journal making workshop? You can go to dandelioncottage.com and sign up for my newsletter there called Notes from Dandelion Cottage, and I will let you know about the workshops that I have coming up. These are online workshops, and they are for all levels. So if you're just getting started, that's fine. Don't be intimidated. I will help you to get started on the right foot. And if you are a more advanced painter or bookmaker or paper crafter, then I think you're going to find some really nice ideas. And also, as always, you're going to meet an awesome bunch of people. So just be sure to sign up for Notes from Dandelion Cottage, because that is how I announce my upcoming classes and events. Okay, I'm sort of getting into the middle tone area, but I can get darker. So I'm just mixing up a stronger mixture of my yellow and blue to get a sort of a medium green, and there's a little bit of red on my palette, which is giving me a nice dark green. And I can use that here and there. That's going to help to establish where my shadow side of these pears is going to be. I'm going to switch brushes now. Oh, Kelly's here. Hi, Kelly. She says she loves making journals. Great. Would love to see some of your journals. Why don't you share them in our Dandelion Paper Pal group so we can all be inspired by what you're doing. Now what I'm doing is I'm just putting some sort of place marks to remind me of some of the features of these pears. So where I can see a little bit of the bottom, where a stem might be pointing out from. I'm still not nearly as dark as I could take this, so I'm going to go back into my beautiful scarlet mixture. And just drop that color right into the wet paint and I'm going to let that move around just as it wants to. This is the beauty, excuse me, of watercolor, is that the paper and the paint take an active role in the creation of the image. And depending on how wet your paper is and how much moisture you have on your brush, you're going to get a different effect. I can take some of my green and let that mingle. Alright, now this paper is getting very saturated at this point. So I'm going to have to give it a chance to dry a little bit so I can start to add some lines. So in other words, I won't be able to paint my stems very well at this stage. So I'm just going to let this all kind of blend together, give it a chance to dry off a little bit, and then I'll come back and I will add a little more drawing detail. But before I do that, I'm going to take some of my gold ink and spatter that around while it's still wet. So you have a lot of different choices for gold inks. I've got a collection of various types. So this is one that says it is a acrylic ink. This one is a water-based ink. So I can give that a shake. And I'm going to get my water painter nice and wet. And I just need a little, so here's the lid. So if I just pick up plenty of that ink, I can just flick it around. Uh-oh. We don't need gold on you. Okay, so this is just going to add a little bit of sparkle, and it's going to blend into that wet and wet paint that I have there. Okay, so let me see if you can, if the camera will pick up. I'm gonna get my bowl here. Hang. So I think you can see how drenched the surface is. That's why I've got to give it a chance to dry. But you may be able to pick out a little bit of that gold metallic ink and how that just sort of blends in randomly with the rest of the picture. Okay, so that is part one. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side of the paper. I'm going to let this dry, and then I will share with you what I do next. So thank you so much for joining with me today. Please remember to go to dandelioncottagedesign.com, sign up for notes from Dandelion Cottage so that you can find out when the next journal making workshop is going to be, also my watercolor card club and my paper crafting classes. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.